Hello, pickle people. It is another episode of Is This a Pickleball Podcast? I am your host, Matthew K. Pickleball, and I am joined today by Moneyball champion, Mr. Wilson. How are you today? Is it true that you put together an entire Moneyball event just so you could walk away the winner? What? Tell me all about what's happened.
Of course, that's the only way to do it, right? No, but this time was not my own Moneyball. I have ran a Moneyball before, but no, this was someone else's.
Okay. All right. A little less sketch that it's not yours, but all right, folks. If you are tuning into the pod, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. And then on the Matthew K. Pickleball channel, you should subscribe because we are always doing the giveaways. We just gave away a Honolulu CR paddle. I'm trying to give away a Spartus P1 paddle. Mr. Casper B1, please get back to me via email. That paddle people want, so definitely hit me up, please. And then congrats to Juan Santiago 1441 for winning that Honolulu CR. If you didn't win a giveaway though, don't cry just yet because we've still got some other giveaways going. We've got a giveaway for a Volair shift paddle. Go to that video, check that line out. It's a very interesting line. Wilson, no one's watching that video. Did you watch the video? Did I have something hanging out of my nose? Why aren't people watching that one? What's going on?
I don't know, but I watched it, so I gave you my one view, all right?
All right, you're my one view. And then if you want a free t-shirt, Poor Sport is giving away a t-shirt in our last podcast, so make sure you go over there. And then I'm not sure the video is out yet. It might be by the time this pod goes live, but I am giving away my first Luzz pickleball paddle. I am giving away one of their brand new Pro Blade 2s. So check that video out. And then, Mr. Wilson, speaking of Poor Sport a moment ago, we were giving a t-shirt away on last week's pod, but it's time for a fit check. What do you think about this craziness today?
Ooh, this one's wild today.
This is also from Poor Sport. Once again, they got crazy designs, and last podcast we talked about them, and you have to comment if you want to win a free t-shirt from them in last pod what design you want. Some comments, I can't follow all the comments, but I think there's some people that are trying to participate, but they've got some crazy designs. Go check them out. And then this hat here is from a company that I'm really liking, Suay Hats. I am set up with a promo code with them now. Promo code Matthew K will get you 15% off, and then promo code Matthew K works at Poor Sport too. But what I really like about Suay Hats is they just are really nice. They've got really good liners. They look good, simple. You can get simple designs. They also have different styles if you like a more pointed tip up here, lots of different choices, and then many of them have this kind of unusual way to adjust the size. This is rubber, and sometimes I've gotten hats that are made out of hard plastic. Some of my you hold on to hats a long time, or at least I do. I have a hard time letting go, but sometimes this hard plastic will crack and break, and so I think this is kind of nifty that it's rubber. And so, yeah, check them out, Suay Hats. And now, Mr. Wilson, we have got a big pod today. So we got to get trucking. I know you got plans. We are going to move it. But so today's episode is powered by IntuitSport, a performance-driven sports equipment brand dedicated to giving athletes everywhere access to elite-level gear without the elite-level price tag. IntuitSport is rapidly expanding its lineup across multiple sports with pickleball front and center, all with one mission: make high-quality, innovative equipment affordable for everyone. They believe the playing field should be level and the best gear shouldn't be reserved for the few. While pickleball is their current focus, IntuitSport's product range is about to blow up, and they're quickly becoming a company to watch. Check them out at IntuitSport.com and use promo code Matthew K to save 15% on any product. Thank you to IntuitSport for powering today's episode. If you want a super well-made paddle that's very durable, check out the Tour X3. That's my recommendation. And now, Mr. Wilson, it is time to get to the pickleball news and updates because it's been a big news week. I don't know if you know this, but I've been tracking. Stuff is going on left and right. I've got some big things to share. First off, we've got to kick it off.
Ooh.
What do you think of Selkirk's new colorway, the Everglade? It's on the Boomstick. It's on like everything they've got. What do you think of this?
I love that mint green, that evergreen color. I think that might be the second best one. I still think the OG red and white and black is the best because those are the Selkirk colors. Yeah, but
okay.
this one's pretty good. What was the other one? What was the other one? Blue. That Jack Sock and a blue one, right?
The Jack Sock is like the Captain America one, and then they have the gold one. I think there was maybe one between the gold and this one. I can't remember now.
You know, I forgot about the gold one. I do really like the gold one. It's like bling bling. You know, we're in LA, so
yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah,
yeah. That was the first like color update, but I think this is my favorite. Folks are asking me if it's a lime green, and I actually do think it's a little. It's kind of hard to see on camera. But it is. It's not like a deep forest green. It's a mint green. Mint green. Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Mint green. But yeah, very cool and cool on Selkirk for dropping the colorways, folks. Do the new colorway drops get you to get another Boomstick? I'm very curious. So comment down below. Let me know. But hold on to the Boomstick. Put that in your mind because it's going to come up in a little while. Don't forget, they have that Infinigrit surface, which was really the first kind of like durable grit that we saw. And that's going to become relevant because that is a big theme of today's pod because we are talking not only about Honolulu's new grit in the pod, but I got another update on a company that we all know that you're going to want to stick around and hear about because they are doing their own durable grit. I don't even think Mr. Wilson knows about this. But first, I've got, talking about the Boomstick, I have just found out Luzz Pickleball is getting into the lab space as well. Did you see that, Wilson?
I did. I saw it online.
All right. Well, I had to really dig into it and figure it all out because first off, apparently, Selkirk's Labs program is now transitioning to something called Selkirk VIP. And it's different than how they used to run their program. But basically, it's like a $99 subscription for a year. It gets you perks, including early access. And then recently, Carbon announced their own take, Carbon Club membership. Now, that one is cheaper. That's a one-time $30 purchase for lifetime perks, which I'm betting that's not going to be forever. So if you want to get into the lifetime of it, go check that out. Oh, I see a big sigh over there. What's that about?
I have enough streaming subscription services. I don't need anything more from Pickleball.
I hear you. Well, Carbon's includes early access, so similar to Selkirk's. But then I noted on their site, it gives you eligibility to apply for something called Carbon Concepts. And so that is actually their product testing and feedback program. And so everybody's bringing a program to it. But Luzz, I kind of like what they're doing. Theirs is a little more straightforward. It's basically a way to try prototypes, and it's a crowdfunding thing more than anything else. And so this first lab drop is involving a Canon EX paddle, a Tornazo 2 paddle, and a Pro Blade 2X. So they're really coming out there with the names. And the way it works is it's crowdfunding. So like if you're familiar with Kickstarter or even GoFundMe, I guess, if they get 50 orders within 30 days, they'll produce the paddle. And so the first 50 buyers get early bird pricing as well as a free paddle once the product officially launches. So you fund it, you get the paddle basically. So you're buying it ahead of time. But then if they don't get fully funded, you get refunded is my understanding. Okay. And then for this particular program, buyers then ranked number 60 to 300 will be able to purchase an additional paddle for $60 after launch. Very cool. Do
you like being an early adopter of paddles?
Do I? Well, I already am.
You are. We're reviewers, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a way for folks to do the review game, but without the headache of making videos. And on Instagram they said it said the Tornado 2 and the Blade 2X were going to be $99 each. But basically the lab has different tiers. They're doing a recreational series, a R&D series, and a tech series. They're only launching that one that I've already talked about. And then I have so definitely there's a benefit to going in early. But folks, I already checked. The top 50 are all done on everything. So if you want to try to get in, make sure you keep your eyes peeled. This is something new that they're doing. I think it's very interesting. These are all the details I have. So check the website. But I wanted to put that on folks' radar. What do you think? Are you ready? You don't like well, this isn't a subscription. So does it interest you at all?
I kind of don't. I don't care to be like an early adopter. Because when I like a paddle and I compete with it, I want it to be readily accessible in the future because I like that paddle. I don't want to have a paddle and I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this paddle, and then later on I'll be like, no, we discontinue it because it wasn't doing really well in the market or something, you know? I want something that's reliable and I can expect to get it later on once I need a new fresh paddle, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You don't want to fall in love with something that you then can't get. So I get it. But some folks really like to be that early adopter. So I think this is a nice little alternative to the Selkirk labs in particular. And folks are really loving Luzz. Like,
yeah,
on my courts right now, that cannon, folks are going crazy. Apparently someone left one at open play at my home court. And that thing's getting passed around. Everyone's demoing it. And I was like, is that my paddle? Did I leave that there? Because they had weight on the throat, on the bottom corners. I'm like, who else would do that? Like, I was like, Wilson doesn't put weight there. So someone lost their Luzz. And if you know where I play my home court and it's your paddle, well, let me know. And I think I know who has it, and they'll be happy to get it back to you. But yeah,
I mean, at least it wasn't a $300 paddle, right? That's
true. But they definitely had it customized. Hit me up. But Luzz, though, aside from the lab program, I saw when I was digging into that, trying to understand it, I just saw that they have something called Luzz Idea, where folks can design the look of a paddle and get prizes. So basically, if your design gets picked, you'll get $1,000 cash prize for your design and an additional $5,000 bonus if you're designed. This time they're doing an Inferno. I think it's their second time they're doing this. Inferno sells over 5,000 units. So, Mr. Wilson, I think we might have to go do some designs. That's a lot of cash right there.
Worth the shot.
Yeah, and it seems like it's pretty straightforward. So maybe I should edit this section out of the pod. I don't want more competition. That's a hefty prize right there. $1,000 cash prize and $5,000 if you design.
That's a lot.
That's crazy. My goodness gracious. Everybody, just go design a Matthew K. Pickleball paddle. Let's go get that Inferno made. But it is on the Inferno, which, folks, I mean, we were talking about the Cannon just now, but this is another paddle that people just are loving, and where I play in particular, and they're just, I mean, are you seeing this more and more as well,
Oh, yeah.
Wilson? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Luzz is really coming out strong. I was thinking, because they had done the Cannon, it's such a budget paddle, I wasn't sure they were going to get into that higher tier market, but they definitely have just slammed through that wall. Mm-hmm. And so very cool stuff. We're going to try and track the lab thing in particular. I think that will be very, very cool. And then make sure you check out my video. If it's out, if it's not out, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. But this is Luzz's Pro Blade 2. I think we chatted about this a bit on the last pod, but I have a dedicated video with the giveaway. Either it's on the channel now or will be, so make sure you check that out. And now, here's the big news, Mr. Wilson. Here's the big news.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. All right. So right now, we have... Okay, we'll get to the summary at the end. The big news is we have another company coming to the scene with the durable grit take. This is the updated Course Coda with Harmony Grit. It is, I believe, coming out May 12th. And I'm excited to hit with this. The original version of this paddle came out a little while ago. It's available right now. But this is basically, a Gen 4 paddle. It's thermoform unibody using a triple density foam core. And then Course, if you guys aren't familiar with Course, I did a whole interview with their owner a while back. But he was one of the first folks to really experiment with face layup materials. He's basically this guy in Texas that loves making paddles, loves making music. Matt, hey, if you're watching the pod, leave us a comment if you are. And he just went through a lot of prototypes, feeling out materials. And for this one, he landed on something soft carbon, middle layer of fiberglass, and bottom layer of soft carbon. And they always have just unique layups. And then as far as the core design goes, he's calling it treble foam. Course, it's all music related. It's just like the thing. And basically it's triple density, 3 different foams. The main section, the center section is EPP. And then there's a light EVA foam ring to maximize the EPP contact area, he says. And then there's a super light PU foam edge. And it's 16 millimeter build, 7.9 ounce static weight, about a 112 swing weight, 6.6 twist weight. And so the original one was $157.50 after promo code Matthew K. So very competitive. This new updated one, though, is $179.99 after promo code Matthew K. So right up there with, all of the paddles that are having this more durable grit seem to have the higher price ceiling. But what is unique about this one is it is going to be USAP .43 approved for launch. Right now it's pending, but for launch it's supposed to be approved, and I really appreciate that. I think last pod, my rant about USAP and UPA. What do you think? Have you had any more thoughts about paddles being... Are you still on the camp as long as it's UPA or USAP, or do you have any new thoughts?
No, I'm still in that same camp where as long as it's approved or there's a certain standard, as long as we're not getting some crazy, tennis rackets or racquetball rackets out there, I'm fine with it as long as I can play with it in tournaments.
All right. So I'm still on my own lonely island of I give props to Course for figuring out durable grit and staying within the USAP. But we are going to talk a little bit more about that, because Honolulu is approaching things a little differently, so hang around. But so for this Harmony Grit, they're not going for super gritty, but instead longer lasting. So it has consistency throughout the lifespan of the paddle. And so very excited. I just got this. I'm excited to hit with it. And before we move on, I think they have some of the coolest designs Course does. I still love their Saved by the Bell colorway, but very exciting to try this. I believe you hit with the original Coda. Do I remember right or no?
Yeah, I hit barely, so I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I didn't play enough with it.
Okay, well, we'll make sure you hit with it. I remember my first impressions were it was very poppy paddle, but I also know he had mentioned there being a break-in period, so I really want to put this one through its paces, though, because I want to see how this compares to the other longer-lasting grit, especially feel-wise, because I think as we are moving to these hard coats of texture, I think soft paddle feel might be getting impacted, but I have various reports on the different grits, and so I'm not sure that's a blanket statement or not. It's something that I want to really investigate for myself, but this feels like familiar, so I'm excited to just see what it's like. So the Coda H and E with Harmony Grit, they're coming May 12th. The S will follow in June. And then so he said folks who bought a Coda H will get a code to get a Harmony Grit version for only $75 and keep their old paddle. I know some folks were a little concerned about that when Honolulu did their thing, so Matt's thinking ahead on that. And then the pre-order date's going to be soon. And so definitely check out their site. Make sure you use promo code MatthewK. And then I did have a few more technical notes. Yeah. So the way that they're doing the grit is it's a custom peel ply texture that's using these special embedded granules. I don't know. Did we hear that? That sounds kind of similar to the diamond grit that 60 is using. And then the idea is as the peel ply peaks dampen, the granules compensate for that fall off. So as you know, as we all know at this point, when I don't have a real ball with me, but as the ball strikes, a fresh paddle, the teeth that grab the paddle on the peel ply, chip away, and that's kind of how paddles get smoother. Like yours, you basically have a hole down through the center because you hit the sweet spot. Mine, I like to spread out the wear and tear. But for this new paddle, the idea is when all those bits chip away, whatever is embedded, those granules are supposed to compensate, and so maintain that spin, that grab. And so we'll just have to test that out. And then he definitely says you don't need to use an eraser. He recommends cleaning it with your hand, wiping it away, which I've seen some folks say that before, which is always interesting. But yeah, and they're not calling it permanent grit. They're saying longer lasting. And if you know anything about course pickleball, I'm sure they're very concerned about like how they communicate, and so I appreciate that. And for the hybrid Coda, I already talked about the OG's specs, and so if anything changes, we'll make sure to discuss it on the pod. But are you excited? Another durable grit option? Is this important to you? Is durable grit important to you, Wilson?
It is, because right now the grit is what is determining whether or not I need to replace a paddle right now. It'll be nice. It doesn't have to be like permanent grit, but I think as long as the core, if they can get it where the core and the surface wears out or needs to be replaced around the same time, that'll be perfect. Because there are a lot of times where there are paddles where I'm like, damn it, it's just too smooth to play with, but the core still feels great. So then I just use that to mess around with, or I just give it to a family member or something. So yeah, if they can make it so that they wear out around the same time, I'm a happy camper.
Do you have a number? Like, what do you think a paddle? How long should a paddle last you? A year? More?
No, I have to be realistic. I still think 6 months is already pushing it for me. Okay. Yeah, that's my goal. I'll be happy if a paddle, if the grit and core will last up to 6 months.
All right, folks. This is probably a guy though that plays like 3 to 4 times a week. So if you're like just a weekend warrior, I think a casual player, their expectations a year minimum.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, there are people who are still using Gen 1 paddles at the park who are there to exercise and stuff. And, they're playing perfectly fine with their, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, engaged paddle or their first gen carbons that I see. So don't get me wrong. You can play with it as long as you want. It's just performance to, the return in performance that I'm looking for.
Got it.
A little different.
All right, so we just talked about Course's take on sort of longer lasting grit, but a ton of questions I'm getting like pretty constantly flooded with is Honolulu's take. And I have confirmation. So this is a pre-production J2CR normal handle, and it is confirmed this paddle with the crystal blue endurance surface is UPA-A certified as of last week. The owner shared with me that it's almost 100% of the maximum allowable spin. But folks, just before you go crazy, just know shipping is going to take a beat unless you did one of those early pre-orders, because multiple batches have sold out already. So if you've been waiting for that UPA approval for the J2CR, hopefully you put that order in already. Folks, if you don't know, if you put in a pre-order, you're always able to cancel over at Honolulu. So definitely don't sleep on the pre-orders. Like, I keep going to the courts. I keep recommending to a lot of folks the J6CR Wilson, and then they go and they come back to me, dude, I want to play with it like this lifetime. And so if they're complaining to me about that, and it's like, yeah, well, they're very in demand. And so, but yeah, the J2CR, the normal handle, that's the only one that's been approved. They are, I believe they're trying to get some others approved. And as far as the grit goes, though, all shapes will be getting the crystal blue grit. And people have been asking me that. The owner did confirm that with me. And then for the J2CR, just as a reminder, it's about an 8 to 8.3 ounce static weight, 110 to 114 swing weight, and a whopping 7 twist weight. And so that's for the standard with the, the chubby cheeks down here. And so very excited to try that out. A few folks have been able to hit with paddles with the crystal blue grit. And what I'm hearing is it actually plays very similarly to this one. And so you just get the promise that longer grit. However, you do lose that USAP stamp if that's important to you. Be aware of that. And then I did have a little bit of a kind of, I don't know if anyone else has been told this, but so Honolulu is not submitting the crystal blue to USAP basically until their testing changes, but they are working on a polyceramic hybrid for USAP, but that is a back burner project. So, and I bet Honolulu's back burner, I bet they got a saucepan, a pot, another pot. I bet there's a lot on the back burner. So I wouldn't hold out for that. But just a little piece of insider information for you folks hungry for that. But crystal blue grit, crystal blue endurance surface. What do you think? Do you think we're going to see a lot of Breaking Bad paddles out there? What are you thinking, Wilson?
Well, at the Moneyball I played at this weekend, there was a lot of CRs out there. So I wonder if they're going to jump on the... Yeah, I think I saw three players using it out of the 16 players there. It was the most common one, the most common paddle out there. And then Luzz, an assortment of Luzz paddles were second, actually. So yeah, you can kind of hopefully they're using your codes, right?
Where was the money ball?
It was in Monterey Park. Yeah.
Okay.
But just a quick side note. So you say that the crystal blue is only UPA approved
on the J2CR without the long handle, the normal one. Yeah.
Okay. How does it feel compared to the regular CR since you have both of them?
Well, I don't have both of them, Wilson.
Sorry, I thought that was one.
No, the crystal one is blue. I'm trying to get it, folks. I'm trying, folks, ping Honolulu. Let them know you want Matthew K. Pickleball to hit with the crystal blue endurance surface, or you won't buy one. Like, let them know you need to know my thoughts. But no, there are only a few that got pushed out because they had to have some for their pros. And so hopefully I'll get one soon and can tell you my own thoughts. But I did look at what everyone else is saying, and it seems that it plays very, very similarly, which is actually good news to me because I was worried the crystal blue endurance surface would upset the feel, would make it have to pierce more. And that's really what I'm going to look at. I think I am probably the softest hitter of all the reviewers. And so I am a little more, what's the word? I'm a little, sensitive. That's really what I'm looking at a lot of the time. But to be honest, that is changing a bit because I am now weighting paddles differently than I used to, but I think we'll probably talk about that on another pod. What it is time to do, though, is we have got to shift gears. We have to talk about what are we testing right now. This segment is presented by our friends over at SwiftNet. If you're looking for the best portable pickleball net, check them out. Make sure you use promo code MatthewK if you grab one. And Mr. Wilson, speaking of durable grit, we have to talk about 11.6.24. Now we're allowed to speak about it. All three shapes are now out with their take on durable grit. UPA only approved. This is the Huarache. This is the shape that I know the best out of 11.6.24. And I've got some thoughts, but I know you've hit with yours as well. What did you play? What did you play with that money ball?
I stuck with the bread and butter Loco elongated.
Ooh, the OG. Can't go wrong.
It's just because I've weighted it just right the way I like it and everything. So it's my fall. It's my backup or my fallback, whatever you call it, paddle. My go-to paddle.
Well, it certainly worked if you won the whole thing. But all right, let's talk. I want to hear from a power player. What's your impression of this paddle? Because I know you and I, the Vapor is not really our preferred shape. And so we've had to kind of hold back for a beat because I was surprised. I actually took this out to open play. But I want to hear what's your little take on this. And folks, if you don't know it, 11.6.24, this is their latest line. I'm sure you know Power 2. It's their take on full foam paddles. They were kind of hesitant to kind of embrace foam, but now they seem to be all in. And they're really, I feel, steering the market a bit because they decided to do UPA only certified. I'm not sure if Honolulu would have moved forward with the crystal blue endurance surface if 11.6.24 hadn't done this first and saw the success. I was super surprised people were okay with UPA-A only certified paddles. I thought the USAP stamp that was ride or die. I was completely wrong about that. People are okay with this. It's because I remember back in the day when the 3S wasn't dual certified, Yola's 3S, you'd be playing against those and it's he's got a cheater paddle. But now it seems everything's more powerful, so I guess it's not as big of a division. But yeah, what do you think? I know the UPA only doesn't bother you, but how does it play?
Yeah, so like you said, as long as it's approved by some sort of governing body, I think I'm okay with that. I just remember when you first lent me yours to play with, and then I took it out when it was still under embargo, and then we were filming and stuff. And let's just say I really liked it, and I played really well with it. And then that same day, you found out that I was using it when I wasn't supposed to, so you told me to put it away, and I just played terribly the rest of that night.
Folks, what happened? No, folks. What happened was I put these games together to get play footage to include in the reviews because I used to get roasted for not doing it, and then we have a great first point. And then I look to my left and I see Wilson's holding the Huarache, which was embargoed. I had posted a photo of on Instagram of the Huarache, and the owner reached out and told me it was under embargo. I had just gotten the paddles. I didn't know that. And so then I was hypersensitive, and I can't have Wilson hitting with the embargo paddle in my play footage. So I was put it away because he was killing it. And then he played pretty badly after that. So I don't know. I'm kidding. You're fine. But yeah, so what's your take?
Yeah, it's a great paddle. It's a solid paddle. The grit isn't super gritty or anything. Like I said, I feel like it's still more like a P1 grit, like perma grit. But I know you say otherwise. But this is just how I feel. How it feels like to me. Power, it's definitely there, but it's not quite up there like the Loco and everything. I mained the Huarache X power paddles previously, the Gen 3s, and I enjoyed those very much. And those are also, middle tier power. And this Huarache X really continues with that. It's very controllable. I love the spin that I get on this though. This grit is, for some reason, it still grabs onto the ball much better than the other ones that I've tested. And I will hope this lasts as long as the grit will last as long as the core, since now it's their foam core. Yeah, all in all, I really like this. Very controllable, nothing too crazy powerful to say about this. Yeah, once I dial this in, add some weight on it, you might be seeing me rocking this at the next Moneyball.
Awesome. Yeah, I was actually, so for me, I had put a bit of time on the Vapor Power 2, and I was a little worried that playing with that paddle, that this new grit broke 11.624's touch for me. But I think it had more to do about how that shape affects contact and launch angle and all of that, because this is the shape I'm familiar with 11.624, and I went to this and it was a lot of fun. I will say I do still think I have to customize this. I do think it's either propulsive or it does have a little more bang than what I'm used to, even though I know folks think this is lower on the power scale. For a control player, like this is plenty of power. And so if you're hearing people say this isn't top tier power, no, it is a very powerful paddle. And so I do think I'm going to have to dial it down a little bit. But I didn't feel like any of the pain points in my first few sessions or my first few bits of playing with this. I didn't feel the same pain point I did with the Vapor. So I do think it comes down to shape preference. And so I'm excited to put some more time on this. But yeah, I did have to put it away because I was in a competitive game and I was not able to control it quite as much as I wanted to. So I do think I'll have to put some tape on it for me, but I love the way it feels. I love this shape. They're like pretty much the first company to do this kind of shape, and it's just a really good shape. It's very, very fast moving for me, but you still get all that plow through. And so that's my quick take. Promo code Matthew K does work over at 11.624. I do have a quick take on their Vapor Power 2 on the channel, and I think I'm going to try to do a little quick overview maybe of the whole line. That maybe is kind of like an informal paddle fitting session for folks trying to figure out which shape they want. But you think people would watch that, Wilson?
Yeah, I will.
You will.
One reviewer.
I think no one will watch it because like the release came out, but it was just like it was so tricky because like I didn't know when the embargo, like it was like when they get added to the list, you can talk about it, and so that is always like a struggle because I just like. When something comes in, like that's when it's like in front of my piles of stuff and I want to talk about it then. And so like when I get something early, I like it when companies don't have embargoes. Like just talk about it whenever you get it. Like, but I know that's not how everyone operates. And now, Mr. Wilson, I know you spent some time with some GRUVN paddles, folks.
Yeah.
If you don't know GRUVN, this company has actually been around quite a while. They're not talked about quite as much as like the 11.624s and the Honolulus for whatever reason. But I actually loved one of their paddles, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half ago. The GRUVN muvn 3S? I can't remember what it was called, but it was like this really fun standard shape paddle. I'll leave a link for it. But Mr. Wilson has gotten to hit with some of their takes on foam paddles. And I want to start with the Laser 16X full foam. And then there's this is a different foam build. This is going to be the 16HD, muvn 16HD. I want to start with the Laser 16X full foam. How does this play? Was it compared to? Talk to me about the pop, the power, the spin. Just give me a rundown. I know you put a good amount of time on these paddles, and then I will tell you what's inside of it.
All right. All right. This is the Laser 16X. This is my preferred paddle out of the two, and that's just because it's more powerful. And I thought it was pretty interesting because it looks like it's Kevlar E. So it does feel softer than a typical carbon fiber or fiberglass combination face layout. So I like the dwell time it provides, yet I think the foam provides a little more power there. The touch is nice and soft, actually, and I like that about that. I like that about the paddle. But one thing I noticed is that the resets were really easy, just because I guess it absorbs a lot of your opponent's pace on their ball, and I had a lot of fun and good power and good control on it. And I would say the pop is low on it, but it's the paddle is very controllable. Launch angle is low. It's overall a very fun paddle. Nothing super powerful, but I do feel it when in my full swings in the back of the baseline. But yeah, all in all, it's a great fun paddle.
Awesome. So yes, this is actually pretty unique. It's a dual density full foam core. They are actually saying it falls in the low tier, mid to low tier power. So is that, you think it's maybe even a bit more though, it sounds like?
No, it's still middle. I would say middle. It's nothing like the Locos or the Boomsticks. It's nothing like that at all.
Got it.
Down there. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like that was their intention. And it's that full 16.5 inch long build. So for folks that like that extended reach, I think it has plenty of room for the two-handers. And their target weight is about 8 ounces, swing weight 117. So if you could obviously weight it up. You have room to weight it up with that light static weight, that lower swing weight for an elongated. If you wanted to get some more juice, 6.46 twist weight. It is 16 millimeters thick, and it is PB Core 43 certified, which is good, very nice. And apparently the thing that's interesting about it is, so there's a gap between, so it's a EPP core, EVA foam ring, and then, yeah, they did put edge foam down in the handle, which might explain why you felt that shock reduction. And so that's definitely something that could help with that. But there is actually a gap between the EPP core and the EVA. And that is, those little touch points are the things that we're realizing impacts like the paddle's play characteristics changing over time. And so their take on, I guess, how to deal that is to have a gap, so to prevent the layers from separating over time. And so this might just play more consistently throughout the lifespan of the paddle. And yes, it has the Kevlar. They offer it in or aramid fiber. I'm not sure if they paid for the trademark, but it's, you could get it red or blue like this. And then it is only a 6-month warranty, which I found interesting, but it is a good deal, I think, for a full foam paddle. It's $152.10 after promo code MatthewK. And so that is how they built this paddle. And before you tell us how this one plays, the muvn 16 HD is also a full foam paddle, but a completely different kind of build. So if you go to GRUVN's website, it is a little confusing. They have a lot of paddles. They've been making paddles for a long time. And then every time they release a paddle, they release it in multiple shapes, oftentimes, multiple faces. So you really do have to take your time in figuring it all out. But I think the two we're highlighting here are probably good ones to look at. But so this is the 16 HD full foam. And it is utilizing a unique triple layer sandwich full foam core. And that is not something we've seen quite a bit. We have not seen that as often. I do know of at least one other brand off the top of my head, which we'll be talking about another day, that's got a build like that. And I've hit quite a bit with that paddle. I haven't gotten to hit with this one, so I am curious to hear what you think. Maybe it lines up with my thoughts on this other paddle. But they're proposing that this paddle is supposed to be great control, lots of spin. And they want it to fall closer to all court or low tier power. And then they think that you get a foamy feel with solid stability. And then with that specific core design, they are wanting folks to see that trampoline effect. And some folks love that. Some people don't. This one's using T700 raw carbon fiber. So this, I thought these were the same shapes for a beat, but this one is a little shorter. This one is actually 16.2 inches long, 7.8 inches wide, 5.5 inch handle though. And yeah, they're shooting for about 8 ounce static weight, 114 swing weight, 6.7 twist weight. And this one is also $152.10 after promo code MatthewK. And this is also USAP PB Core 43 certified. Thanks, GRUVN, for still doing that. And so, yeah, is this a control paddle or all core? Where'd this paddle land for you performance-wise?
Yeah, so the 16HD is definitely on the control side, in my opinion. For a foam paddle, I mean, there isn't that many that I know of that are considered control foam paddles, so this may be one of your options. But I did notice right away that they do look very similar, but I felt right away that this was a much shorter paddle during my drill sessions and my games. I did not like this one as much. I had a very difficult time driving and serving deep into my opponent's court with this paddle. And I totally get it because, it's a control paddle. It's an all-core or control paddle versus the 16X, which I didn't have any trouble with generating enough pace to reach my opponent's baseline. But yeah, it's a control paddle. It was fun and it was fine in the kitchen, dinking, speed ups, hand battles. That was fine. I just had a lot of trouble with it mid court and back. So their description is accurate. It's an all-core control paddle. That's something I would use personally because I need all the power and pop I can get. But yeah, hopefully you get to try it out, and I want to see what you think.
Yeah, I think there's a place for a super durable foam paddle for someone that's not a power player, because I see a lot of folks like that at open play. Especially if you don't want to, maybe you generate all your power yourself and you don't want to hit it out. Yeah. That's, I think, the category of player, or someone that's like not putting intentionally, just like playing with groups where you're dropping and just having the dink game, playing old school pickleball. Mm-hmm. You get that durability. But yeah, it's got that. The outer layer is EPP on the core, and the middle layer is this higher density, harder foam. And it doesn't seem to have any of the horseshoeing floating core. So go back to like the Carbon True Foam Genesis or some of their later paddles, like just made differently. But when you don't have that softer foam on the outside, you're not going to have that hard power. And so it completely makes sense. But now, I know you have been getting to hit with, finally, we got you an elongated paddle from 6-0. And so I know you've put some time on the Coral. And folks, we have talked about the Coral on the pod already. But Wilson didn't get it. It was a hybrid. But we finally got the elongated. And as someone that mains the Loco, even in his money ball, it sounds like, give us a rundown on the Coral. Folks, if you don't remember, the Coral is my favorite, I'd say, of all the new 6-0 paddles. They also have their they had their update on the Ruby, but those weren't foam. And then they did what's the Black Opal? The Black Opal, but that one is a very unique build. And it's not for everyone. That has like this rigid frame. This one is made closer to the way the Bread and Butter Loco is. It's a more traditional foam build. So as a power player, someone that spends a lot of time with the Loco, first off, this is a unique elongated shape. It's using kind of a take on 6-0's iconic flare. So, how's it play, dude? Give us the skinny.
I like this paddle, but just to warn everyone, it does require some break-in time. Initially, it does feel a little stiff and firm, but the more you play with it, it does kind of soften up. You feel more of the trampoline power and dwell that comes with this paddle. I think I actually tried this out on a couple of the games that I felt were at the Moneyball that were not as difficult or challenging. I did bring this one out, and I did fine with it. I think it's cool. I love the colors. I would weight it up a little bit on the sides to make it more stable, like my bread and butter Loco. But yeah, I did notice that it does pocket the ball pretty well. It's not as gritty as other paddles out there right now, but it still generates enough dip for even singles when I played a couple of games of singles with this. Yeah, all in all, great paddle. I think a lot of people will like this. Personally, I do enjoy the Opal a lot. But yeah, this is probably more fitting for most players out there.
Okay. All right, 6-0. Get us an elongated black Opal. I know you've got those now. We got to have Wilson hit with that. But all right, well, speaking of grit and that not being one of the grittiest, I think it's time we talk about probably one of, if not the grittiest paddle that's ever come our way. We got a couple paddles from Facolos, a Vietnamese-based pickleball paddle company. Wilson has been testing two thicknesses of the Elite X, the 14 and the 16 millimeter. Folks, if you don't know Facolos, they are a Vietnam-based pickleball paddle brand. They're probably most known for who plays with it on the pro circuit again?
Gabe Tardio.
All right, yeah, Gabe Tardio, Ben John's partner, and so everyone's watching Ben John's clips left and right. So you've definitely seen this paddle in your videos. But this is from a company. It's hard to actually get these paddles in the States. And the info is kind of hard as well. I think this is a Gen 3 build. It says it has an EVA edge wall. So EVA edge wall, to me, that means Gen 3. But I don't have an X-ray or anything like that. But you've gotten to hit with them. Do you think it's Gen 3? Does it play like a Gen 3? Tell folks what it's like. And I have to just point out, though, the reason the face is so gritty, Wilson was able to walk around the court the other day with it stuck to his shirt. And I made a little short on that, just like, I think this will be funny. Dude, that short, like, lots of people watched that thing. Ooh. And so people were very... the dang shirt test. We might have to try that with some more. I don't know if I have another paddle that could do that. Like you're actually like either. Walking. Yeah,
I was leaning forward. Crazy. I was leaning forward a little bit.
And everyone's asked me if it was USAP approved, and I didn't have the paddles, but I did check the list. It is, yeah. So yeah, it's USAP approved. So all right, how does it play? Like, did the grit actually translate to spin? Give us your take.
Yeah. So these are definitely control paddles to me. It was very fun playing at the kitchen with these because these things are gritty. And then you can shape the ball so well without doing full swings. Because you know how there's some people who say that you can spin the ball with your full strokes versus spin at the kitchen where you're just kind of using very short movements. So this is something that does really well at the kitchen. And I mean, that's why Gabe Tardio does so well, right? But it does lack power. Again, I'm very sensitive to control paddles or all court paddles because I rely on so much power in my game that I rely on my paddle for my power in my game. And so these were lacking. I was thinking about maybe using the 14 millimeter at my money ball, but I decided not to because it was lacking power for me. So my drives are not actually going where I wanted them to be. But control, really good, really good. Everybody, like, if you can generate your own power, these paddles would totally fit your play style. But when you said EVA edge wall, I feel like these feel more like Gen 2. Because Gen 2 technically have edge foam.
Right, that's...
Yeah.
They have edge foam. It was typically a hard foam, not EVA. But without having like a blowout of the paddle, it's hard for me to know. Folks, if you know if this is quote unquote Gen 2 with just hard edge foam, or if there is, usually a Gen 3 has hard edge foam and EVA foam. Yeah, let us know. But it's hard to know. Like, they're kind of hard to get info from. But so are you saying it hits like a Gen 2?
Yeah, it does feel very Gen 2-esque.
Well, that also makes sense. You're saying the 14 is more powerful based off of...
So I like the feel of the 16 when I'm playing rec games, but the 14 provided enough pop for me to use it in a more competitive game. However, it just wasn't quite enough compared to the Loco or even the Coral. So that's why I decided not to use it in my money ball. But yeah, that's the only reason. It was just lacking some power for me because I'm kind of weak sauce.
but the difference between the 14 and 16 is the 14's poppier. There's not a big power difference in your estimation?
No, not really on the power end of things. It's just a little poppier. It does have like a slightly smaller sweet spot. It doesn't feel as soft or plushy as a 16. I noticed that the 16 felt better. But I just was really looking for the pop and power from the 14. But got the pop, not so much the power.
All right, folks. And I know you're just thinking it might as well be the Wilson K Pickleball Challenge. Does Matthew ever hit paddles? Yeah, I've been hitting paddles, folks. I've been trying to figure out. We had James Ignatowicz on the pod.
I saw Q2. I saw Q2 at the Moneyball tournament.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing. There's Q2s at my rec play too. I've been trying to hit through RPMs lines. The only ones that I have that I can really do this, where I compare them 1 to 1 to 1, are the elongated 16 millimeter. I've been hitting with the OG Friction Pro in 16 millimeter elongated. I've been hitting with the V2 60mm elongated, and I've been hitting with the Q2 as well. And I'm going to probably do a dedicated video going into detail on all of this, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. But I hit with this one, the original, the V1, I guess we'll call it, the original Friction Pro. Lots of people have compared this to the YOLO Pro 4s. I know Wilson has hit with it as well. Kind of made that comparison too. I am super familiar with the Pro 4s, especially when it comes to the actual feedback you get on soft touches. And the RPM, I'd say very comparable performance, but I would say the feedback was a little clacky. It wasn't as refined as some Gen 3 paddles that I've hit with. Still a very high performer, but I was like, I would hit the ball and it was just feedback that was unfamiliar to me. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I wouldn't call this this definitely isn't a Pro 4 clone to me. Maybe it has comparable performance, but it has its own feel profile. And then I hit with the V2 Friction Pro, and I love this feel. This is exactly what I want out of a Gen 3. I will say it kind of has, its handle shape feels different than the V1. I am actually gonna have to change this customize this handle some because it is got more shallow outside grooves. So if you really rely on the outside grooves to like have feedback on your grip orientation and you're used to having pronounced outside grooves, you might have to add some like gaff tape or use a Ethos Pro undergrip or a Hesicor. Or if you like that slimmer, flatter grip, you'll be fine with it. For me, I'm probably going to have to beef this grip up a little bit more. And I've been trying to slim my setups down, so I was trying to go slim. But this is something I can adjust. But the feel on this is, in my opinion, like, this is like my first impression, but the V2 is got a much more premium feedback and feel than the V1. And the performance, this thing is powerful. I don't remember ever having issues controlling like my drives with the V1 Friction Pro, but this one I think I'm gonna have to wait up because I was trying to play this in a competitive game yesterday, and I believe this was the paddle I was overhitting. And it might be because I've been spending a lot of time with the Q2. So this is RPM's full foam paddle, and everything about this paddle I like. Handle, everything. It's kind of strange that RPM has different, I think they have different handles throughout the different versions of their paddles, but this is very nice. And so this is basically using the same, it's a foam build. We've talked all about this on the pod already, but this is using the same kind of CF layup as the V2. And really the thing that they changed between the V2 Friction Pro and the V1 is they took advantage of the CF orientation. They took advantage of the 45-degree thing that we've talked about. I've talked about that on my Franklin C45 video. James talked about that in his interview. You can even sense when he's talking to me that he recognizes the V2 Friction Pro is like a much. It is quite an upgrade compared to the original. If you watch that interview, that's the sense I got from it. And so I think that simple layup adjustment has really leveled up the Friction Pro. They carried that to the Q2. And I did a video, a little short, comparing the Boomstick with the RPM Q2 and a sound test, basically, because I think everyone's seen it by now, but Pickleball Studio basically made a pretty big statement that the Q2 felt and played just like the Boomstick. Even James kind of offered that assessment in my interview with him, which is kind of interesting since they're built so differently. But for me, I'd actually hit with the 14 millimeter when I had seen Pickleball Studio's video, and I was like, huh, I don't know if that's the same to me. But then I got the 16 millimeter. I still was like, I'm not so sure about that. But then I replicated or approximated the weight setup of the Boomstick.
MOI tuning weights.
The MOI tuning weight. I used pickle clips, and I believe for the elongated Boomstick, so I used 2 clips each, which would be 6 grams on my sound test. I think that's actually a little less than the MOI tuning weight. I think that might be
7.5.
7.5. But I did close to it, and I would say everyone that listened to the sound test was like, yeah, they sound the same. And at that point, I agreed. Like, the feel is very similar to the Boomstick. But you really do, for me to make it play like that, I really do have to put that sidewall weight, which is very interesting. And we're going to talk about this probably on another podcast, because I've noticed in the comments we have a lot of newer players to pickleball, and I want to break down different weight setups. But traditionally, for me, I used to only really tune paddles with weight, putting it down at the throat, which kind of helps reduce pop-ups. I'm not going to say it reduces pop, but it does help reduce pop-ups. But this area actually can widen out the sweet spot and add extra stability, and ultimately that can give you a bit more control on harder hits, and it can also help you be more consistent and hit hard more consistently. And so I might probably replicate that setup with the V2 Friction Pro just to give me access to that power but control it and hold on to the ball a bit longer to get that top spin I need to keep the balls in. But for playing with the Q2, I actually took one of the pickle clips off, so I just customize it with 3 grams on each side, and this thing freaking plays great. Like, I can play consistent, I have great access to power, I'm not overhitting, and then I was actually I did compare, I've been hitting with the Boomstick, I have been hitting with the wide body Boomstick, but I'm starting to see why everyone loves the Boomstick and the power paddle. But the thing about the Boomstick is the feel is different. You get a lot of spin. If you like to have kitchen game, you're doing flicks and whatnot, you get that with the Boomstick. But I would say, because this is using traditional carbon fiber, the Q2, it is a more familiar ball feel. For the Boomstick, it feels like it sits on the face briefly. I actually think it's staying on the same amount of time because it has a very forgiving launch angle, actually, in my opinion. And so I don't actually think it's... I think it is probably comparable to like the hold that Peel Ply carbon fiber has. It just, the feedback is a little different. That sensation is a little different. So if you're sensitive to that, I think the RPM Q2, if you want a more traditional feel, or if you actually want to be able to choose how much weight you put on the sidewalls, I would look at the Q2. Or if you want a lighter paddle, you've got 14 millimeter with the Q2. You don't with the Boomstick. And so there are a lot of reasons. Oh, and plus the Q2 is cheaper than the Boomstick. And so a lot of reasons to look at this paddle. I am still going to keep playing with all of them. I'm going to try and do an overview. Folks, if you have specific questions you want answered about the different lines, definitely leave a comment. Let me know, and I'll try to address it in the video. But very, very impressed with the Q2. I'm also very impressed with the Friction Pro V2. I do think it's an upgrade from the V1. And so I do want to weight this up though to have a more fair comparison, and I need to get the handle more to fit my style. But very impressed. I think James and RPM have done some good work. And yeah, once again, the Q2 is the one that John Q helped design, and it's got a crazy foam build with lots of little nuances in the design, but it's interesting that it ultimately ended up playing similar to a Boomstick, which isn't crazy since apparently I believe I heard that's what John Q mains or plays with a lot. And so if you're going to design a paddle, you want to make it play like you want to. But this is also fun without weight too. But you're not going to get that same... You might not register Boomstick for you, but I think you hit with some of these, didn't you? What have you hit with?
I hit with the 14 millimeter, the
Q2.
first one that you got. Yeah, the Q2, and then of course the V1. I got a pretty good amount of time on the V1, and then just like a game or two on the Q2 14 millimeter.
Okay.
But yeah, the Q2 definitely a power paddle. It's up there with the Boomstick, even without the weights. But one thing I did notice was that it had a lot high launch angle. I had a lot of pop-ups during the 2 games I played with it.
Okay. That's the 14 millimeter, folks.
The 14 millimeter. I did have better control with the 16 millimeter Boomstick than the 14 millimeter Q2. Granted, they're two very different paddles, right? I should compare 16 to 16 next.
You're also comparing stock 14 Q2 to MOI 16 millimeter.
Yes. So
we gotta get it set up so you can do a proper comparison.
Right now it's just apples to oranges, but Q2 there's a lot of potential for it, and you're right. There's a lot of options to customize. And if you wanted a lighter boomstick, there's always, like you said, the 14 millimeter, because the boomstick doesn't only comes in the 16 millimeter. So there's a lot of options, and like you said, like you also said, it's cheaper. So there's a lot going for RPM and James. I think they hit it out of the park with this one.
Yeah, I think a very good release. Yeah, I do think their most recent drops are the ones to look at. And it's interesting, the V1 I don't even think's on sale yet. James, what the heck? You got a V2, but you're not putting a discount on the V1? Come on. Come on. But yeah, I definitely think check these out. They're doing some great stuff. And if there are any questions, yeah, please comment down below so I can try and get the answers. And now it's time. We're wrapping that section up. Today's featured accessory is an unusual one. I have been actually wearing Legacy shoes, or Selkirk's Legacy shoes, for a while now. And the idea of these shoes, they are actually pickleball shoes. There are two versions. Legacy Classic, those are $138. Legacy Pro, $158. If you use special promo code INF-MatthewK, you should get like a digital coupon for a gift for your next purchase. But so these are Selkirk's Legacy shoes, and the idea is they're kind of like street shoes that you can wear to play pickleball as well. I don't know if you've experienced this, Wilson, but sometimes, I'll go play pickleball, and then, I got to go grab groceries while I'm near the Trader Joe's. Bring it home, right? And yeah. I'll have my, sometimes you don't want to look too silly walking around with pickleball shoes. Maybe you don't want to bring a second pair of shoes. If you just want one pair of shoes to go play pickleball and do your grocery shopping in and not look silly, maybe these are the shoes for you. I actually wore some of Selkirk's old Court Strike shoes. I would wear these as my kind of daily wears because I really liked the throwback look of this particular colorway of their old line. They have now, for their Legacy Classics, I believe those are the ones that are they're limited edition Legacy Classic shoes, and basically they are embraced the retro look for that specific line. So if you want like some old school looking tennis shoes, check those out. I was ahead of the curve, Wilson. I was already doing that. But so these though are designed to be like daily wears, and it's basically the technology. It's using EVA. It's got the rubbers that are supposed to be very good. I do like that see-through thing. I think that's pretty cool. But I've been wearing these not on the courts, but as daily wears, and I like them. I like this particular design, and I am kind of becoming a bit of a shoe head because I've been testing so many shoes. And so what I like about these, especially compared to some of Selkirk's other shoes, the midsection is a bit more stretched out compared to their others. I think you might even be able to see it.
Oh yeah.
So if you're someone that tried Selkirk shoes but got pinched in the midsection, you can try these, and they're looser, more forgiving there. And yeah, I just like them. Are they heavier? I don't know. I don't really ever. I don't know if I've ever thought shoes were heavy. Really? I don't run, so I don't notice that. Okay. But so they feel normal to me. I didn't clock anything unusual, but they've got the other thing that I noted that was interesting on the insole, and maybe you know this, but on the insole they actually have, I don't think you can see it on camera, but these little rubber pieces that to grip under your sock so you don't slide as much.
It's like the Blue Macas or something.
Yeah, so we've been talking about that and that makes sense. Maybe since they widened out that midsection, they wanted to compensate, and so you do get that lock. I haven't noticed any sliding, but I've just worn these as casual shoes, just because I don't want to. I like them, and my pickleball shoes get wrecked, and I want to wear them, so I'm not wearing these on the courts. Like one of my home courts, you've been there, like it's just destroyed. I went there with a pair of shoes that I wear quite a bit that had some worn tread, and it was freaking slip and slide. So I gotta be careful what shoes I wear to that court. It also chews up tread, but I think these are gonna probably, if you like Selkirk's as a brand and want to support them, or you think their shoes look cool, I would check them out. But then if you are someone that doesn't want to change shoes from pickleball to stepping off the court, these are, I think, really good options to look at. And so
I think you and I are on the side of just wearing our pickleball shoes to the courts, right?
Yes, we are.
I the only time I actually change out of my pickleball shoes are if it was like raining or if it was like really dirty outside, then I'll throw on another pair of shoes. But for the most part, you'll see me walking to the courts with my pickleball shoes. But also, because I love my white shoes, it's not so bad when I go out to the grocery store or go and grab a beer after pickleball. It's because they just look like regular shoes.
I hear you.
You and your crazy color combos.
That's true. I do have I use yoga socks, and I always get called out for those. But actually, I did though. I knew I had a long grocery shopping situation after pickleball, and I actually had Selkirk's recovery shoes in my vehicle, and I thought those were like super oversized. So not their podium slides, but their recovery shoes. They're made more like what are those shoes? Yeah, like Crocs. And I thought they were oversized, but I will say they are a little big. But they weren't
size down. For them.
I'd size half a size down, but if you want, like, I do think when I'm done playing pickleball, and if there's a doctor listening, let me know if I have an issue. But my feet, I sometimes do have to unlace my shoes because my feet have swollen up, and so okay, good, all right, Dr. Wilson. But so I did like the recovery shoes. I did try to wear them at Trader Joe's, and I wasn't falling out of them. So I know I chatted about them before being too big, but I would probably, if I was buying them, would go half a size down. Now the slides, the podium slides, that's normal fit. But yeah, Selkirk add into their shoe line. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, and then one thing I did want to note on that is they do have, so it's using their Infinity Grip outsole. So Affinity Grip, not Affinity Grip, Affinity Grip outsole. So
cool.
Hearken to the Boomstick. So it's supposed to maintain durability, traction, etc. It's like they got a lot of tech pushed into that. And then they've got some claims like it's up to 40% more abrasion resistant and better engineered to withstand heavy court wear compared to traditional court rubber. But that's all good, nice to say. But they're backing it up. 6-month outsole warranty. Fewer and fewer shoe places are doing that. And so that's another reason to maybe try out Selkirk shoes. And then if you were hesitant to use their traditional court shoes because of that, you want to beef your midsection, just go with these, I would say. I think check them out. And that's all I got. That's all I got about today's featured accessory. And now it's time for us to get better at pickleball. Mr. Wilson, what is the tip of the week? This section is presented by our friends over at BodhiPickleball. If you're looking for some of the best pickleball accessories, grips, towels, bags, whatever, check them out. Promo code Matthew K will get you the best price. What is the tip?
Yeah, so this is my takeaway from my Moneyball today. Real world lessons, right? One thing that we had issues with, my partner and I, was shifting together. So one thing I had an issue with was when the opponent in front of me is hitting and speeding up down the line, I need to talk to my partner and tell them that, hey, if the opponent in front of me has the ball and he's going to hit down my line, my partner needs to cover my middle or the middle of the court, and I will cover my line. That's all about partner communication. So just talk to your partner. If you have had a couple of balls fly past down the line next to you, tell your partner, hey, I'm going to watch my side while you cover the middle, to you protect the middle. So yeah, shift with your partner. If your partner is covering their line on their side, you got to shift over a little bit to protect the middle. Yes, your other side is open, your partner's other side is open, but that's a much more difficult, high-risk shot for your opponent to hit. And since it's super cross-court, your partner should have enough time to readjust and catch that cross-court. But yeah, all in all, cover your partner, shift with your partner to make sure there are very little or no openings for your opponents to pass you.
All right. So you're talking about you're having to shift to cover your outside line, right?
Yep, outside line.
Yeah. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, the classic idea is you and your partner are rubber banded together. There's a rubber band between your legs. So if one shifts, it pulls the other person to you. That just does require some folks, like some folks are always looking ahead, but you do need to use your peripheral so you know when to shift. And so that is a very important part of this, is you need to be aware of your partner. And I do think that is becoming, that used to be, I feel like, something a lot of people did naturally. Yeah. They had peripheral awareness and were aware of their partners. I do think now that pickleball has gotten faster and harder hitting, people are a little more locked in front of them so they don't get hit maybe. I don't know. Something's definitely changed. More and more people are not moving with partners, or like, I don't know. The other thing, I mean, this isn't related. I get frustrated when people won't come up next to me, because then like
that's an opening.
That's an opening, and then I don't have any awareness of where they are, so then I end up trying to cover more than I should. And so, folks, let me add on to Wilson's tip here. Get in your partner's peripheral. Even if you got great freaking shots, like your partner doesn't have your partner doesn't have a sense of where you are. So that rubber band thing, like, you've got to be on the same line or plane. So get up to the kitchen, guys. And then I'm totally with you on that, Wilson, because as you know, since you've told everyone we play with, as I'm trying to get my play footage, my backhand in particular when I'm on the left is weak. And so people are targeting that, and I do have to communicate with my partner when they're on the right. I'm forehand when I'm on the left because I'm right-handed, but I do have to communicate with my partner that I have to spend more time protecting my outside line when I'm on the left in particular, and I have to ask my partner, I need you to cover the middle more in that case. And that's not forehand, right? So it's like you do need to communicate, and if you're clocking something, it sounds like people are going for your outside lines. I don't know what side you're on, but you need to, like, not everyone is clocking these things. So I do think the key takeaway that you said was actually communicate, because sometimes you're quiet and you don't want to say, like, you don't want to feel like you're coaching or telling someone to do something, but ultimately it's a team sport and you're noticing something, and don't be afraid to ask for help, folks. When I'm on the left and you're on my right, take that middle, because I'm here just trying to get my outside line, because I'm getting ripped at by Wilson the whole game. And so communicate. And now it is time for me to communicate to you folks. You need to subscribe to the channel. We need the likes, we need the hypes, and you want to be here because we are always giving stuff away. We just gave out a Honolulu CR paddle. We're trying to give away a Spartus P1. I mentioned your name at the top of the video. Dude, get back to me via email. You got the paddle. We still have the Volair Shift paddle, so check that video out. If it's not out yet, we're going to have one for a Luzz Pro Blade 2. So make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out. Check out the last episode of the podcast. If you like this shirt, Poor Sports got this and a lot of other options. You could win one for free. Go check out the last pod. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon. Mr. Wilson, do you hope these folks get to pickle soon?
Definitely. I hope everyone gets to pickle soon.
You know, one day he might say, no, I don't want any of y'all to pickle.
Why would I say that?
I don't know. But today he says you get to pickle. He wants that for you. And yeah, like, subscribe, do all that. Just don't forget, once you do get to pickle, it's about having fun.